We are joined by Dr. Matt Callahan. He's the vet, the house vet of the Howie Carr Show, and he's here to answer all your questions about your pet, your house pets, your dogs, your cats, whatever, but mainly your dogs and your cats. And he's a very good vet. He did a fantastic job with my dog Gunner. Was really just such a great provider of services to Gunner in her final days, and he's very good, and he's someone that you should think about taking your pet to if you live within driving distance, and it's not that hard to get to his place. It's up on the North Shore, and Dr. Matt is brought to you today by Eden Pure Thunderstorm. For all your pet odors, get the Thunderstorm air purifier today at EdenPure.com, code word Howie BOGO. Howie BOGO.
I've got my Eden Pure right here, Howie.
And I wanted to mention this before we get started. Now, you heard us talking about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and you got one for your son, correct?
Right, because his cat, and as I explained to Kathy, it literally the world's stinkiest cat, and I could not imagine walking into my son's apartment if he did not have an Eden Pure. So, I asked him, I don't know, it was 48 hours after he got it, and he said all the smell is gone.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. That's
we have them in the clinic too. They really are great in the clinic because I don't want that disinfectant smell.
Right.
And so, in fact, one of the technicians came to me one day. You can plug it in anywhere. So it was behind a chair, and the chair had moved and knocked it out. And she walked in one day and she said, "Who turned off the air purifier?" It just had gotten knocked out.
Yeah, it does smell fresh. If you put it in your office or somewhere where you don't go overnight and you come back in, you'll be able to smell it in the morning. But it's not, like you say, it's not a disinfectant smell. It's a right, clean it's a smell, yeah. like a thunderstorm after a thunderstorm.
Yeah, it really is terrific. So.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to take questions for Dr. Matt here. Any questions you have about your pets? 844-500-4242. And this is a very cold time of year, obviously, and people are having a tough time. I'm hearing messages that they getting their pets out, their dogs out to go outside. And you know what I used to do with Gunner? I would just take my foot and push her out the door. But I'm sure you're going to give me a better suggestion what people should do when their dogs don't want to go outside in this kind of weather.
Well, yeah, it's crazy. We've actually been dealing with a lot of cold-related stuff in the last couple of weeks, and especially the last couple of days, a lot of paw issues. So, you sort of forget about it until it reoccurs. But a lot of dogs are having problems with the salt and stuff that's put out on driveways and porches and roads and stuff like that. So, I don't know that there's any other way to convince your dog to go out. I think most dogs can manage cold weather pretty well for short periods of time. That being said, I had a client bring their Chihuahua puppy in last February when it was about 5 degrees. And she asked me about taking the dog out. And I said, April, not April.
Oh, boy. 844-500-4242. Again, if you got a question about your pets and anything that you have any about their health or their behavior. And Dr. Matt, what is your address? Where are you out of, and what phone number can people call during the week if they want to get some service from you?
Yeah, we're right on Route 1, Old Route 1, on the Raleigh Ipswich line, and our number is we're the Ipswich Animal Hospital, and our number is 978-948-8189.
978-948-8189. All right. Jeff, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt.
Hi, Howie. Hi, Dr. Matt. How are you today?
Good.
I have a 12-year-old St. Bernard,
wow.
And recently, she's a beautiful dog, 107-pound female, and recently she's had some trouble getting up. I gave her some Dashuquin, or however it's pronounced.
Yes.
Will that work on something else called knuckling?
Well, here's the thing, is almost all these dogs at this age have some degree of neurological degeneration and some degree of just plain old osteoarthritis, just wear and tear arthritis. Certainly Dazaquin will help the arthritis part, But if your dog is now knuckling, then it suggests either that your dog does not know where, is it a boy or a girl?
It's a 12-year-old female.
Yeah, so she doesn't know where her back feet are. That's called proprioception. And so because those nerves run along the outside of the spinal cord, they're affected most by any spinal degeneration, which could be spinal stenosis or an intervertebral disc disease, or even, something like degenerative myelopathy, which is basically Lou Gehrig's disease. So,
could any of this been brought on by a kidney infection?
I doubt it. You've got an exceptionally old dog for a St. Bernard, exceptionally old.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Doctor. I mean, the bigger dogs, unfortunately, have shorter lifespans, correct?
Markedly shorter. And she's obviously a very small St. Bernard, thank goodness. That's why she's still around. If she was a 130-pound St. Bernard, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But what I would honestly do, I would get her a harness. There's a great harness company called Help 'em Up Harness, and they make terrific harnesses for both the front end and back end of dogs. And that really can help
the wheels?
No, it's not a wheel. It's not a wheelchair. It's just a harness to help you help her.
I do have something that I wrap around her midsection, in case.
Right, and that's what this harness is. It's just really nice because it has handles and it has some customization that makes it.
What's the name of it again, Doctor?
They're called Help 'em Up harnesses. So.
Help 'em Up.
Help 'em Up.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Good luck.
All right.
Jim, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Jim.
Hi, Howie and Dr. Matt. Thank you for taking my call. I have a question for you. Can dogs live to be 20 years old?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Yeah. I don't think I've had a 20-year-old recently, but I've definitely had a 19-year-old. So, yeah, absolutely.
Gunnar made it to 18 and a half.
Yeah.
Small dog.
Can they live to be 20-something years old?
Yeah, it's usually the really small dogs. I think the break is at about 15 or 20 pounds. Dogs below that, we see them very commonly into their late teens, and I don't see any reason why they couldn't get to 20. We're treating a 24-year-old cat, so
wow,
they can get up there.
What's the oldest cat you've ever heard of, actually, Doctor?
Oh, 30. I think 30 is
30?
the oldest. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is, really is.
Thanks for the call, Jim. Tracy, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hi, I'm wondering, I'm getting a golden retriever puppy, and when is the best time to spay her?
Yeah, the current thinking is to wait somewhere between 10 months and a year. There's some evidence that waiting a little longer confers greater health going down the road. And so where almost always the tradition for maybe the last 50 years has been to do it at 6 months, our recommendation now is to do it between 10 and 12 months.
Is that before or after a heat?
They'd certainly go through one heat, at least. Yeah, one heat.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the whole, that's part of the process, right? Let them go through the one heat before you spay them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the risk is that it slightly increases their chance of breast cancer down the road. Although I think overall, if you look at the big numbers, dogs that are spayed and neutered later in life, not at all, but later than 6 months, they grow slightly smaller, but they stay slimmer their whole life. And we know that golden retrievers have appetite issues where they don't know quite how to turn off the appetite. So keeping them thinner their whole life, and that's what the researchers suspect is causing this greater lifespan amongst later spay and neuters.
Thanks for the call, Tracy. A good question. Okay, Dr. Matt, we'll be right back in just a moment. But we're going to talk about the thunderstorm that you and your son love, and we all love it. My friends at Eden Pure have done it again, and just for this week only, the Thunderstorm Air Purifier BOGO is back. That's buy one Thunderstorm Air Purifier and get another one for free. It's been months, and people still ask me if it really works. Not only does it really work, but it works in hours. Our sales rep came down last week, and there was a funky smell at the Airbnb but it was no match for the Thunderstorm. The mailroom manager lent one of ours to her, and hours later, the smell was gone. Dr. Matt's son, the smell of his stinky cat was gone in a couple of hours. That's all it takes. The Eden Pure Air Purifier is so small you can hold it in your hand and it plugs right into the wall. That's why it was so easy to move. The best part is you don't have to replace any air filters, which of course saves you time and money. BOGO is back for 1 week only. Maybe you have one and you know how well it works. Now you may want one for your second floor or basement. pet, kitchen, tobacco, or that basement smell is all gone with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Go to
Dr. Matt, Howie claims that you said this cat is a vile, smelly cat. Is that true?
Well, his Drogon is a wonderful cat, but the cat is breathtaking in the worst possible way. I mean, it really does smell bad.
Drogon?
Well
Drogon,
put.
With a name like Drogon, he probably does smell.
Right.
Breathtaking. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word Howie BOGO. This deal ends on January 31st at midnight. The thunderstorm sells fast, so don't delay. Shipping is free. I'm Howie Carr. Today's poll question is brought to you by the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. For all your house odors, you need the Eden Pure Air Purifier. Through Sunday, January 31st, BOGO is back. Go to EdenPure.com and use code word Howie BOGO. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
As climate czar, how will John Kerry travel? Commercial, government plane, or the flying squirrel?
Government plane. That's why he took the job.
29% say flying squirrel, 68% say government-issued plane.
All right, 844-500-4242. With us is Dr. Matt, the house veterinarian of the Howie Carr Show. And Dr. Matt, if people want your services, what's the number they should call during the week?
They can call me at 978-948-8189.
All right, and where is your clinic?
We're right on the Ipswich Raleigh line on Route 1, and we're the Ipswich Animal Hospital.
Ipswich Animal Hospital. 617 says, when do pit bull pups calm down? 5 months old, crazy, good dog, but hyper.
Well, boy, it's such an individual thing. A friend of mine once said there's nothing better than a 6-year-old Labrador, and I understood completely what he meant. It takes a while for them to mellow out,
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I guess I would say probably a year to 2 years, they're going to start to mellow out a little bit.
Here's a strange one. Lucy loves to eat shells when I take her to the beach. She chews them up and swallows them.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid she's going to choke. Why would she be eating shells? She also does the same with sticks, eats them too.
Yeah. Again, it's a behavioral thing. There's lots of people that want to chalk it up to some nutritional deficiency, which I don't necessarily believe in. Some dogs have fetishes for eating different sorts of things. Shells are particularly bad because they're sharp and they won't necessarily choke on them, but it will poke holes in their esophagus or their stomach or their small intestine. So you really have to prevent it. I actually generally recommend a cage muzzle. Cage muzzles are, if you remember back to when they had greyhound racing, they would wear a cage muzzle when they raced. So the dog can pant and it can drink water. It just can't eat shells or poop or whatever the dog's eating. So
that's what you do when you take the dog to Lucy to the beach.
Lucy goes to the beach with a cage muzzle. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the safest thing. We had a client years ago that spent $6,000 getting rocks out of her golden retriever before that $13 cage muzzle looked a lot better. Yeah.
617 says, my mother died and we got our cat. She got it when my son was born and he's now 27. So the cat's 27.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. Barbara, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yes, my daughter. My daughter has 2 Jack Russells, and they're both 15.
Yeah.
She's a little bit older than him, but he barks all the time.
Yeah.
You come in the house and everything you do, he barks. So how do you stop them from barking?
Yeah, you're probably not going to be able to train them not to. There certainly are collars. The newer bark collars are actually a little more sophisticated, and some of them will just give them a admonishment really than a punishment. And we'll give them maybe a vibration, and some even will spray a little citronella. Dogs don't seem to like that. I will tell you, however, that you can also use calming supplements. There's a supplement maker called, I think it's called Front of the Pack, and they make one called Harmony that I've used with my dog because she's a barker too. And so that product seems to have helped my dog more than anything else.
Good luck, Barbara. Brian, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, good evening, Howie and Dr. Matt. So we've got a rescue dog out of Tennessee who we had a DNA test on, and he's, cattle dog, Vizsla, Siberian, and a golden retriever.
Nice.
But he always barks, not at me. He only doesn't do it to my wife. He barks at me. He'll sit there and stare at me. And I don't like this. I'm not the alpha male. I used to be Spartacus, but now I'm I don't know what.
Yeah, how long have you had the dog now?
6 months.
Okay. I think I think what I would start to do is I'm not a full believer in the alpha male sort of thing, but you do have to be the command giver. So I would start to do some form of training, maybe treat training. So you're giving him rewards too. You can actually teach dogs to bark and teach them to be quiet. So there was actually a book out years ago called Play Training Your Dog. And if you can find it, get it, because it has great techniques for, when you train dogs to come, you can train them to stay. You can train them to get on things and to get off of things, and you can train them to bark and then not to bark. You just never give them the bark command. So training really does help, and it helps them respect you, that you're the decider in chief, as a former president once said.
On the other hand, though, Doctor, couldn't he just give him some treats, bribe him, like I did with Gunner and Pearl?
Yeah, but what sometimes happens is now the dog thinks he's getting what he wants. So now you're rewarding him for the barking. So
okay,
I think but it's not the worst idea. It's just that there's a risk that you're going to reward bad behavior.
Thanks for the call, Brian. Lisa, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi.
I recently adopted a British Shorthair back in May of 2020. And at first she was fine, but now as the months continue, she's throwing up maybe 3 or 4 times a week after I feed her.
Yeah.
I'm feeding her about a quarter of a cup of cat food in the morning and in the evening. And I just recently changed her food to Ein's Proactive Health Hairball Care.
Sure.
And she's still throwing up. I mean, she is such a good-natured cat.
Okay.
For being a doctor, she'll be 8 in March.
Okay. Does she vomit hairballs or does she not vomit hairballs?
She does not vomit the hairball.
Yeah, this is definitely a trip to the veterinarian. I think one of the problems is, as veterinarians and clients, we all sort of expect our cats to throw up fairly frequently. There was a feline veterinarian who a couple of years ago stopped sort of accepting vomiting cats as just one of those things. And what he found is, I think like 70% of the cats that were vomiting, he could find some pathology. And that pathology can be inflammatory bowel disease. But as the cat ages, inflammatory bowel disease can become GI lymphoma. And we've definitely seen cases of that, both IBD and GI lymphoma. So I really think while treating a cat for hairballs makes some sense early on, but if you have a cat that's vomiting that frequently, they really need to see the veterinarian.
All right. Good luck, Lisa. Okay, we'll be right back with Dr. Matt. We have him for another 30 minutes. If you got a question about your pet, give us a call, 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr. Matt the Vet is brought to you by Eden Pure Thunderstorm. For all your pet odors, get the Thunderstorm Air Purifier today at EdenPure.com. Code word Howie Bogo. Howie Bogo. Dr. Matt, what's the number if people want to get your services at the Ipswich Animal Hospital?
My number is 978-948-8189.
And we got another text from a guy who just had the same problem, basically, that Lisa. His cat is 7 years old.
Yeah.
And he says that he usually has a small hairball. Why would this start now after 7 years with virtually no vomiting?
Well, cats groom differently as they age, and some cats will groom more, or they have a different hair coat as they age. The hairballs, you usually think of them, at least I usually think of them, as like a plug at the end of their stomach, but it's not like that. Once they can start to do endoscopy in cats, it's actually more like your welcome mat in front of your house. Now, everyone knows the rule of your welcome mat is never look under the welcome mat for all the stuff that's going on under it.
Yeah.
And so it basically causes a gastritis because it sits in the same part of the stomach, and then they'll vomit or they'll retch and they'll move it, and then the whole process starts again. Most hairball remedies are basically flavored Vaseline, but what it does is it gets into the hairball and helps the hairball pass through the GI tract.
Mm-hmm.
And but some cats will just...
It's like Drano. It's like Drano for cats, in other words.
Well, I don't quite use that term, no.
But I mean, it's not going to poison them. But what I mean is it loosens it up.
It helps clean that out.
Right.
So sometimes it's called cat laxative, but it's not really a laxative. It just helps hairballs pass. So and those are fine to use, but for some cats, it's more than just hairballs. So.
And here's another one about a dog that eats poop. I won't go into the gory details, but what should he do?
Man, that's a tough one. It really is. So again, cage muzzles work quite well. there are some products that you can add to their food that supposedly will impart a worse flavor than you would already imagine. But there's very few things that really work religiously. I actually am a pretty big fan of a cage muzzle.
And someone wants to know, what's the name of that book for barking dogs?
Okay, the book, it was called Play Training Your Dog, and I think you can still find it. I'm pretty sure it's not published anymore, but it might be out on a Kindle or something like that.
Play Training Your Dog, or get it on a used book site.
Yeah,
Do you know the author's name?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Jenny, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Doctor. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hi, Howie.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Matt. It's
Jenny.
nice to have you back. I just got a baby boy bunny.
Oh, boy.
He's just over 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
And I had a question about neutering him.
Yeah.
Concerning longevity.
Yeah.
And pros and cons.
Well, I would think you would probably want to neuter them. I don't think there's been any good studies about length of life with neutered bunnies, but once you realize that let's try to imagine the behavior of an unneutered baby bunny, and you really want to neuter them. I would say that most bunnies that are living in close proximity with humans are neutered. If you have them out in a hutch or something like that, it's probably less critical. But neutering bunnies is pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Jenny. Joel, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Joel.
Hey, Doctor, this is so great. Doctor, I have 2 pugs.
All right.
And they have decided to go outside and bark at absolutely nothing. Relentlessly. I mean, it is. I love them both. The older one, Gunner, he would bark occasionally, and all of a sudden because we thought he was lonely, we got another one, a female, and he has taught her.
Right.
And I am talking. I love him, but I want to kill him.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think this sort of issue is a pretty tough one. I hope you wanted a second pug and you didn't buy your pug a pug, because that's what happened. Then you have a pug and your pug has a pug. But I guess as a general statement, I would say that humans live in a certain reality, and we share that reality with dogs. But we also have differing realities, and dogs know stuff that we don't know. So there might be a scent or an animal that's nearby that bothers them or something like that. And so that's what they're barking at. So I suppose for the time being, you probably should chaperone their trips outside so you can, talk to them about it or something like that. Again, you can train dogs to bark and you can train dogs not to bark. And so pugs, I don't know how are pugs easy to train or?
No, I think Joel can answer that as well as I can. The answer is no in a word. But
I have an electronic fence.
Yeah. Oh no, there you go.
Thing.
So no, I mean you could put bark collars on them. As I said, the newer bark collars are pretty sophisticated, and you can set them off, or they can automatically set off. I prefer the ones that you set off with a radio control.
Where we are, Dr. Matt, where we are in Florida, these neighbors, new neighbors of ours on the same floor, they got 2 dachshund, long-haired dachshunds.
Right.
And those damn dogs, they're barking all the time. But then they hired this, I guess you call him a dog whisperer.
Yeah.
And, when he's with them, they don't bark. It's amazing. What does the dog whisperer do to get them to stop barking?
I don't know. I guess you have to hire the dog whisperer to find out.
But do you believe? I mean, I'm sort of I've heard about dog whisperers on TV, but I've never seen it really work like that. But it does. This guy is working with these.
Well, as we talked about this earlier with another caller, but I think when you are giving commands to dogs and dogs have to obey commands, they start to listen to you and they start to refer to you to make decisions. I will tell you, I don't think dogs sometimes make the very best decisions when they have to make independent decisions. But if you're the decider for them, they look to you, and then they defer to you. And so that's why we have clients. This barking thing happens a lot where, strangely enough, it's usually the opposite of the earlier caller, where the dog will bark with the wife and kids because they're protecting the house. But then the husband comes home and the dog's quiet because the chief is there. At least what they recognize as the chief.
Thanks for the call, Joel, and good luck with those pugs. He has a pug named Gunner. What a weird name.
Small world.
844-500-4242. Glenn, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Glenn.
Hey, Howie, how are you?
Good.
All right, great. Listen, I've been listening to you for I don't know how long. All right. But listen, Dr. Matt, I've got these two dogs, right? They're probably 2 years old now, 2.5, right? They were rescue dogs.
Yep.
One of my daughters got the first one, all right? And then my other daughter said, oh, I'm going to get one too, okay? Now I got two of them. One of them moved to New Hampshire, so I got the other one back, all right?
Okay.
So I got them in the house, all right? They're great dogs. They're great pups.
Get to it.
I call them pups, because they're only about
Go for it. What's
inches
the question there, Glenn?
The question, well, it's a 4-part question. One of them used to be really nice with me and everything, the male, Boomer. And then the female, Nina, who came in afterwards, right? She's like, she looks like she's Belgian
What's
Shepherd.
the problem?
And
Glenn, bring on the bear, as they used to say in journalism class. Tell us, what's the problem?
the problem is the female will not come near me. And she growls at me constantly.
Yeah. Well, again, I think probably the best thing is to do some training with them. You might want to bring them to a trainer or bring them to a training class so you can start to work with someone that can help you literally get closer to the dog. Obviously, feeding them is important, giving them treats is important, but you have to start doing some training with them so they start to, respect you as the person who runs the show.
Thank you, Glenn. Dr. Matt, you're getting a lot of psychological dog questions tonight.
It was the full moon yesterday. So.
Let's see here. Pat, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Pat.
Howie, can I get that last 60 seconds back of my life that Glenn just wasted? Doctor, I'd like to get your opinion on a treatment course for he's a 5-month-old Czechoslovakian wolf dog.
Okay.
He tested positive for Giardia about 2.5 weeks ago.
Yes.
And the initial vet prescribed him 250 milligrams tablets of metronidazole twice a day, as well as 2 grams of Panicur once a day for a 5-day course. After about a week, we brought him back, and he tested positive again. He still had his sores was getting worse. So the vet doubled it for another 5 days. So it was 500 milligrams twice a day of the metronidazole and 5 grams a day of Panicur. We had to stop after the first day. After 1 day of the double the dose, we brought him to Angel. He's very lethargic, wouldn't eat or drink. It just wasn't right. And the Angel said that the metronidazole could have neurological effects and bad side effects.
So what's the problem? Go ahead, Pat. What do you want? What's your question?
It's been 3 weeks now. He still has Giardia. Just got tested again. He's still positive for Giardia.
Oh, is he sick?
Prescribed him Dronso.
Okay. First of all, did he ever have diarrhea?
Very bad, yes. I mean, it goes back and forth.
And has that gone away? Okay. It would be, this is my guess. I want to stress that this is my guess, that Giardia has nothing to do with your dog's diarrhea. If you look at guys, veterinarians that are infectious disease veterinarians, they really struggle with, does Giardia cause any problems in dogs whatsoever? You have a source where your dog's being reinfected or you can't get rid of it. A lot of veterinarians feel like many forms of Giardia is a completely normal component of your dog's GI tract. And so many don't treat it at all. I would address it, at least for now, I would address the diarrhea as another problem, not Giardia.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Here's a 603 says, I'm a vet in New Hampshire. Dr. Matt should say the most common cause of non-productive coughing in cats is asthma. Very often misdiagnosed as hairballs. If a cat keeps coughing, there are no hairballs. It's probably not a hairball.
Right.
Yeah, okay. You agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. Kim, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Kim.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a
I have a 12-week-old Shih Tzu puppy, and I've had Shih Tzus before, and they're pretty low-key, chill dogs. But this puppy is extremely, extremely aggressive, and I'm wondering, is there anything I can do training-wise to get it to just do something so that it doesn't grow up to be so aggressive? I'm really worried that it's just going to be an aggressive dog.
Yeah. Well, I think, Shih Tzus are fairly uniformly very sweet. And
they're so small. How aggressive could a dog that small be?
Yeah, but you don't even want small dogs biting you. So I guess I would say that some of these Shih Tzus actually have some Lhasa in them. Lhasas were the guard dogs, and Shih Tzus were the lap dogs. So I doubt after living together for 500 years that there wouldn't be a little Shih Tzu DNA in Lhasas and a little Lhasa DNA in Shih Tzus. And so you can get these aggressive dogs. But again, I certainly think at 12 weeks, a training class is really where you want to go. Puppy kindergarten, then you can, get the advice of a behavioral expert or a training expert to start to get a little better relationship with the dog.
Okay, thanks for the call there, Kim. 844-500-4242. We'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr. Right. My assistant here in Florida, his name is McKay, and he got a rescue dog, a collie named Scout, and it had PDA surgery.
Yeah, wow.
And now he's wondering it's about a year old. He's wondering if he should buy the ASPCA pet insurance. Is it worthwhile or?
Well, for the heart condition, most pet insurances are a little bit like the older people health insurances. They won't cover pre-existing conditions. So as far as the PDA goes, they'll never cover anything with regards to that. But I think pet insurance is overall a pretty good idea, and they seem to work well with veterinarians. We work well with the insurance companies, and they seem to be pretty respectful.
All right. Okay. So it just won't cover PDA insurance. It won't cover the PDA.
Yeah, anything to do with probably the heart. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kim, another Kim. You're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Kim.
I know. Hi, Howie. Hi, Dr. Matt. I was
Kim.
talking to myself there for a while. I have a brand new puppy. He's a Sheltie. He's about 10, 11 weeks. I guess he's 11 weeks. And when I went to my vet, I was kind of surprised. I have been feeding him a sweet potato, green bean, carrot kibble kind of thing,
Yep.
a grain-free kibble.
Yeah.
And then I'm giving him like a couple tablespoons of some fresh cuts that's like, chicken recipe, whatever, non-GMO, whatever. And my vet was saying that actually they found that there are some studies showing that dogs that are not eating grain recipes are having health issues.
Yeah.
And I was
So
shocked.
yeah, these are called beg diets, boutique, exotic, grain-free diets. So I don't know, what protein source are you using in the diet?
Chicken.
Okay.
Is the raw? It's not raw? It's
That's
like
fine.
cooked raw. When you go into the pet store and you see it in the refrigerated section.
Yeah, there's some data. There's some dogs that seem to have problems with grain-free diets, and we don't know exactly the reason why. That's the thing we don't know. So I guess I would say it's not hard to put a little grain in the dog's diet, rice or something like that would certainly, as long as it's a dog food, because dog foods really do have some of the micronutrients.
Dr. Matt, are you basically suggesting that sometimes it's possible to overthink your dog's diet?
Well, I think I think there's been sort of a move towards these grain-free diets as if they're mysteriously healthier, and I don't personally think they are. You have to have a carbohydrate source. In that carbohydrate, if it's not grains, it's usually potato. Mm-hmm. So is potato specifically healthier than wheat or corn? I don't know.
Thanks for the call, Kim. Bill, you're next with Howie Carr and Dr. Matt. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Howie Carr, how are you?
Good.
Dr. Matt. Howie, first of all, I love your show. Been
Thanks.
a fan for many decades. So, Dr. Matt, we have a wheat terrier. We've had two awesome dogs. Love them.
Yep.
My next door neighbor just got a golden doodle as a puppy, paid some pretty significant money.
Yep.
And the dog is biting them. And I don't know if it's lack of
oh, wow.
discipline. Well, no, yeah, but this isn't going to end up funny. Lack of discipline, but they're ready to put the dog down.
Yeah, well, here's the problem, and you know, it's more complicated than just let's make the dog better, because suddenly you have this long-term liability. Whereas if this dog bites someone else, you're going to be put in a conference room and asked on the record, did you know your dog bit? Did know my dog bit. And so that's what creates a huge problem with dogs that bite people. So, I mean, I'm certainly, you know, game for them to bring the dog to some form of training and something like that. But it's a tough situation to be put into.
Sorry, we don't have an answer for you, Bill. Give us your number again, Dr. Matt.
978-948-8189.
Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Matt
Thanks, Howie.
Callahan at the Ipswich Animal Hospital. See you on Monday. I'm Howie Carr.